It is time now to talk politics with our State House insiders. Dave Wilson, our Republican strategist, Antoine Seawright, our Democratic strategist. Guys, we're about a month away or so from lawmakers officially coming back to Columbia, but a lot of things have been happening, Dave, behind the scenes now. This week alone, I think we've reelected the House Speaker and some freshman representatives have showed up, right?
Everybody has shown up at the State House this week. As a matter of fact, we did elect a new speaker. Actually, we reelected the old speaker. The Senate president has remained Thomas Alexander out of Oconee County. So you have the organizational structure done. Everybody got to choose their seats. Everybody got to pick their offices. So everybody at the State House, all 170 members, are now in their place. They have their committee assignments, and they're gearing themselves up for this new term, which is set to begin the second Tuesday of January.
And Antoine, this is like an orientation for these new lawmakers, right?
Well, I think that there will be a lot of change at the State House. I think that change can be good, change can be bad. I think for the Republican Party, most people would probably argue who are paying attention at a very high level that the party has shifted to the right. And so now that the speaker is not just a speaker, but he's got to figure out how to govern a caucus that wants to out-Trump each other in order to be who can be perceived as the most extreme. So the question is, what does that actually mean for getting things done? On the Senate side, obviously now with a supermajority, it makes it, quite frankly, much easier for Republicans to do whatever it is they want to do, no matter how extreme it is. The question also for Massey is the same question for Merrill Smith in the House. Can you govern a caucus that wants to out-extreme the extreme? And I think at the end of the day, that's what's going to matter. For my party, it should be a lesson learned. You cannot govern if you do not win. Losers don't legislate. And as I've been preaching and saying on this show and all across the country, local elections matter just as much as the national elections. We're going to feel the brunt of that in South Carolina after decades of Republican control, where we're last in the things we should be first in and first in the things we should be last in.
I think that the biggest thing you're going to feel at home is the fact that there are going to be new people who are representing you. JR, keep in mind that we had almost an entire quarter of the General Assembly that got elected this year and are new to their offices. 13 new members of the South Carolina Senate. Now, keep in mind, 2 of those had been members of the House. They got elected to Senate seats. But there is a lot of change that's going on. And to Antoine's point, the Republicans are now in absolute control because they have supermajorities in both houses. And it is going to be up to, as Antoine did say, Speaker Merrill Smith and Senate Majority Leader Shane Massey as to whether or not they're going to be able to push forward on some of the major changes or the major issues that need to be dealt with. Energy in South Carolina is going to be a huge issue coming up because we have so many energy-heavy companies that are moving into this state. An energy bill is going to be one of the first things out of the block. You're going to look at that whole school choice issue coming back up again. And so that has been some of the key items that your legislators are going to be dealing with when they come back to Columbia in January.
Antoine, what's your take on the key issue this legislative session?
Well, I think it's whatever the Republicans want to do. Hopefully there'll be some somewhat of a bipartisan consensus on what that may ultimately, at least 1 or 2 things, what that looks like. I hear a lot of talk about the energy bill that has large ramifications for the future of South Carolina, not just the present. But ultimately, Democrats do not get to decide. I do think there will be some extreme items on the agenda. I feel sorry for everyday South Carolinians. I feel sorry for those who believe in the strong public school education system in our state. And I feel sorry for those who actually believe in the institution of government as we know it. Because with a new, with so many new legislators and so many of them who ran against the grain, if you will, government functioning as we know it will ultimately change because that's what they promised their voters. And for the House, although they are new, what's not new is the fact they will have to run again in 2 years. And they will run again in 2 years with statewide offices also on the ballot, which means statewide primaries will exist in our state too.
All right, Dave, last word here.
I think the biggest thing you're going to see right now is what's going to happen when you have a supermajority of Republicans in both chambers. Are they going to start to fracture themselves or not? We've got a group there within the House, the Freedom Caucus, who has been a little bit of a gadfly to that speaker. So we'll see how that plays out, and we'll tell you all about it in the weeks to come on the Insiders.
JR, can I just say one thing really quick? Dave, I love you to death, but keep in mind Republicans have had a supermajority for a very long time in South Carolina. So Republicans getting to do more of what they've already done can only mean, oh, hell for most of us in South Carolina, because they've had the ability to do whatever they want. They've controlled every statewide office. They've had a grip on the House and the Senate. And so what more do you want in terms of numbers? And we've seen arguably our state do worse because you all have had a grip on the power in our state for a very long time.
I think the one thing you're going to feel is that tax cut that you felt last time, you're going to continue to feel it more.
We're going to have to.
What tax cut?
We're going to have to leave the conversation there, and we'll resume on another day. We are out of time. Antoine, Dave, guys, as always, thank you very much. A quick